So Keegan started, like I said, he started jiu-jitsu a little over a year ago. And this was around the time, at least for a couple years, he was very nervous to try anything new. And when we started with jiu-jitsu, like his confidence boosted right up. Respect level boosted tremendously. What could they possibly be doing in jiu-jitsu at that age group? I'm telling you, these kids, they can do some skills that I don't know that I could do. And I did jiu-jitsu for a few months. Like, these kids are getting down and dirty.
He goes like 30 minutes twice a week, and just that 30 minutes twice a week, I've seen a marked change in his behavior, his confidence level. He's not tied to our legs at all times wherever he goes. He was the kid, if you told him to do something, he'd look straight at you and yell no.
Randall, it's been
Mr. Burns.
It's been a hot minute since we've chatted.
Yeah, I found my computer.
Yeah, you found a pretty badass background there too.
But yeah, that sir is an Amazon special.
That sir is. See, that is the reason why I should. Oh my God, what is happening?
I'm moving my everybody's got to get the full view.
That's the reason why I should grow my beard back, because even the logo has a beard.
So, now that you actually mention it and you say that it's a beard, it's very obvious to me, but I just thought it was smoke.
Yeah, no.
Because the background is smoke. So I just.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a beard. Of course, I haven't shaved in like literally 3 days, so it looks like I am growing my beard back, but it's yours about 3 weeks.
7 days.
This mustache is getting freaking burly. Like, it is all over the place when I'm eating. I'm constantly chewing on it. Need to trim it up a little bit.
Honestly, you look more intimidating with that Fu Manchu you got going on than you ever did with the beard. So
this would be the only mustache I would ever grow. I would have to have the handlebars.
See, mine doesn't grow right here.
Yeah.
So I can't do it.
Mine didn't either until I started growing my beard out, and then it just started filling in on its own. And so now I don't have any problems. It all flows.
I feel like we talk about your ability to grow facial hair and my inability to grow facial hair a lot on this podcast. We do.
But there's a reason behind that, because in the firefighting community, with great mustache comes great responsibility.
Great responsibility. Yeah.
Yeah. So
what does that mean for me? I mean, I don't have to be responsible.
With lesser mustache comes lesser responsibility. I'll let your chief know.
That's not how that works.
I'll let your chief know. He did make a TikTok video of me combing my mustache, and it got quite a few views.
Well, you're going to have to find that and then attach it to this.
That was about recording. 5 years ago. I'm not sure that I even know where it's at, to be honest.
If you can't find it, I will.
He's probably got it saved on his phone. Recesses. He's probably still got it saved on his phone.
He's probably honestly still got it pulled up in a window on his computer, because the man never closes windows.
Probably. So before we get going here, these are not sponsors, but they are supporters of this show, primarily by word of mouth alone. But I do want to do a little bit of shout out to them, because they're awesome people, and I feel like we should support them, because honestly, they support us, and they talk about us quite a bit, even behind the scenes. So first one is Freeze Foundation. Freeze Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit. We had Ben Freeze on the show, the founder of that organization, and they provide hands-on training to help sanctuaries stay prepared, confident, and protected. If you want more information on what it is they do, or you're interested in donating to that organization, you can go to thefreezefoundation.org. Also, Freeze Consulting. They do church safety and business training. All of their instructors that they have are NRA and Indiana Law Enforcement Academy certified instructors. So if you have a church or a business or anything of that nature, and you want to take the next step to keep your organization safe, visit freezeconsulting.us. Like I said, we've had Ben on the show. He's an awesome dude. I know the majority of the people that are part of that organization and that company, and they are awesome. I would trust them with my life, my kids' life, my family's life. So check that out.
Oh, that's some pretty good credentials to have training you too,
Oh, yeah, hands down. Last one
And
is
for
Jason White. Jason White has been on this show several times, and I'm sure he will be on this show even more, but he's getting a little busy himself. So he's got his podcast called Into the Fire. You can find him on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube specifically. Just look under either DET Jason White or Detective Jason White. You can find him on there. But
just about anywhere you can listen to a podcast, you can find his.
Yeah. But he also just partnered up with another organization of some sort. Sorry, my ice machine just informed me that it's short on water. I have a story about that.
Wait a minute. Okay.
We'll come back.
We'll come back.
We'll
circle back.
So he just announced that he was partnering with another. So he uses, for his current podcast, he uses this group that they do all of, he doesn't really do much editing because he uses a program that is mainly designed for streaming on the platforms, like live streaming. But they would do all the editing for him. They superimpose stuff up onto the screen for him. Like they do everything for him. But he just hooked up with another group that wants to do another podcast. So he's going to be having 2 podcasts starting here real soon. The guy is busy as hell. I don't know how he has time because he's still full-time homicide detective out in Tulsa. He's still, he goes across the country doing speeches and all sorts of different stuff throughout the year. He's got his full-time podcast. Now he's doing another podcast. If you want to check him out, his episodes are live every Friday night at, I'm gonna mess this up. It's, I believe, PM Central, so it's PM Eastern. But you could see him live on YouTube and on his Facebook page, I believe. I always watch him on YouTube, so he gets some pretty awesome people on that show. So I highly recommend checking it out. And every time I go on there, I type in a little comment because he can see the comment section. And I always say hi to him, and then he makes it a point to say hi, and then he talks about our podcast for like 3 minutes every single time. So awesome dude.
I'm actually trying to find something just to verify the time for everybody.
I know it's 8 p.m. Eastern because that's what time I always watch.
He occasionally does one he occasionally does them on Thursdays, but for the most part it's Fridays at.
He just started the Thursday thing because he did one this past Thursday. He had a guy on there. It was a musician, actually, a guy that has toured around with a lot of country singers, and that was a good episode. I watched that one, but yeah, I think he's trying to do more, and he does a lot on social media. He does a lot of videos on TikTok and all that stuff. So definitely check those guys out. If you want us to mention your organization, or maybe you have a podcast, or maybe you wrote a book or whatever, hit me up, hit Cody up, hit one of us up. We can talk about, sponsorships. We could talk about supporters. We could talk about all sorts of different things. So hit us up, debriefwithtyler@gmail.com, or you can leave a comment on YouTube or whatever. Just hit us up. I am wearing a different hat today because this fool's spring has got me wishing it was summer so I could be out riding.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Yeah, I'm still sporting the winter hat because my house is still freezing cold, but
yeah, it's a little chilly.
House is still cold. It was nice outside though.
Yeah. I have not really stepped outside.
No. My ride on two wheels is still, it's on the indoor trainer still. So
yeah, I can't do that on a Harley.
No, carbon monoxide,
slightly
among other mechanical problems.
Yeah. No, for those that don't know, my wife had a full knee replacement on Thursday.
Bionic woman.
Yeah, so we've been helping take care of her the last, stupid tags. Been helping take care of her the last, I got to cut the tags out of this. I haven't done it yet. This is actually a new hat.
I
Well,
would say I've never seen it. So,
I've had it for a long time. I just haven't worn it in a while. These Harley hats are expensive, man. That's stupid.
oh, you're paying for the name.
Literally, it's like $50 for a hat. It's dumb. And I have a lot of hats,
Well, you chose to buy an expensive motorcycle too. So
and I love that bike. Love it. Love everything about it. If I remember, I'll throw a picture up in here and show it off to everybody.
I love how though the differences in how we talk. I reference my bike and then you call it a bicycle. You reference your bike and I call it a motorcycle. Just so we
Yeah.
can.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, how's things been going with you? It's been about 3 weeks since we've done an episode. So
Well, it's been even longer than that since I've been on. So,
well, that's true.
but just before we get sidetracked, your ice maker sends you notifications.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, Beth had a knee replacement. So we built our house. We moved in 2024. And if you've ever built a house before, there's a process, right? You gotta pick out everything that you want in the house. You pick out your appliances, whatever. You send it to the builder, and they take care of everything, right? So we had this fridge picked out before they started even building. We had all of our appliances picked out. Well, when they built the house, they added the water line and everything behind the fridge, but it's not like there's no water going to it. So we don't have any water going to our fridge. So I can't use the water machine. I can't use the ice maker. And it's kind of annoying. I really need to have them come out or have somebody come out and fix that. But I just haven't had time, nor have I had the desire. So anyway, so with her having her surgery, she was going to need ice. I have been wanting to get an ice maker, a countertop ice maker for a while. It's really handy when you make drinks or whatever. It's right there. And it's the good ice. It's like the small crushed cubes. It's awesome.
Hospital ice then? Like the
Yes.
good stuff?
Yes. Yep.
Awesome.
100%. So bought this. I'm not even going to tell you how much I spent on it because I probably spent too much money on it. But regardless, I got the one that is Bluetooth and it sends me notifications. This thing can make, what was it, a 26-pound bag of ice in like 24 hours or some crap like that. Like it pushes out a crap ton of ice throughout the day.
I'm not well versed on ice makers. Is that
I'm
like
not either. It seems good to me. So I just got to go in and put some filtered water through there every once in a while, and it'll fill up the little tray of ice in there. And then I'll either take that and use it to make my drink, or I will throw it in the ice tray in the freezer, and we can use it for her machine that she uses for her knee. But yeah, and then I just fill back up, and it makes ice again. So good to go.
If I had enough counter space.
Well, so we got this little room. It's called a butler pantry. We specifically designed that.
Yeah.
So that's where it sits. It sits right in there with all the adult beverages and everything. So it's perfect. So if somebody comes over and they want an adult beverage, we got the ice for it. Granted, it's not the sphere ice or the cube ice or whatever, but it gets the job done.
Yeah, it's usually the first place I go when I go over to your house is there.
Yeah, you're long overdue, bud. I still got some alcohol over here with your name on it.
Ooh. Well, if it has bourbon in the title, then it's probably got my name on it.
Yeah, that's pretty much all we got. We got a bunch of bourbon.
Good deal. I'm always happy to drink someone else's bourbon.
Don't you still have a bottle for me too? Or did you bring that last time?
I think I brought it the last time.
You may have. You may have. Anyway, what
Or
else
I
is new?
drank it, one or the other.
You probably drank it. Let's be honest.
Nothing much, really. I live a boring life, man. Taking the kids to school, going to work. Went down to Pensacola, Florida,
Yeah, let's talk
and
about that.
about the first week of January to do a officer development conference down with a gentleman that we've actually had on the podcast, Mike Harris, and some other guys
Awesome.
from the surrounding county fire departments, and it was 5 days of some pretty good learning. There were some good speakers down there. Frank Lee was down there. Candace Ashby, just solid speakers. Of course, oh God, I'm drawing a blank on the gentleman that runs it. It's gonna bug me now. I got to find it, but Chief Ike.
How did you forget Chief Ike's name? Like the most
I was
popular
trying to
firefighter ever. It goes Benjamin Franklin and then Chief Ike.
he should be on Mount Rushmore.
I totally agree. He might as well have been the founder of the fire service at this point. Like
Down there, he pretty much is.
up here too.
But
I said up here too.
But it was a good conference. Actually, hung out quite a few nights with some people from Denver Fire. So good networking, good conference. I wish it was not in January. I wish it was warmer than 50 degrees in Pensacola at the time. Nonetheless, I did jump in the ocean.
Willingly?
Mm-hmm. Second time in my entire life I've seen the ocean. I was jumping in.
I didn't realize that was only the second time you've ever seen the ocean.
I don't fly well.
I mean, some would say you don't swim well either, but that's another story for another day.
I float well, but I don't fly well. So usually those places like that, if I can't drive to it, I usually don't go to it. My department paid for me to go down there and paid for the way down there. So the flight was paid for and you can't return those flights or the tickets to those. So,
I mean, you can, they just chose not to. They were making you go.
No, but it was a very, very good conference. I had a good time.
Good.
Other than the fact that, I went from 10-degree weather up here to 50-degree weather down there. And first day, my sinuses felt amazing. And then the second day, my sinuses decided that they were rebelling against the temperature change. So, which is kind of what's happening now. If the people listening can't tell, a little congested and nasally right now. I don't remember when the last time I was even on one of these with you. I think it's been well before Christmas, actually, since I've been on.
I think so. I think it's been a minute. I can't remember. I'm trying to remember.
It's middle of February, but holidays went well.
I can't remember. We had, and if he listens to the show, he's going to be like, what the hell? How did you forget who I am? We had Mike Goldstein. Did you run into Mike Goldstein down there?
Mike Goldstein? No,
yeah,
I did not.
We interviewed him a while back. Cool ass dude from somewhere out east.
If I ran into him, I don't remember, but that doesn't mean anything because
I want to say he's from like New Jersey or something like that. Regardless, cool dude. He's got his own podcast and everything. Yeah, I'll put his info in the bottom of this because I can't remember.
Ben Free's interview was the last time I was actually able to hop on one of these with you.
Yeah, and I really, since we talked to Ben, I don't think there was a whole lot in between then. Kind of been, like I said, this year has already been a cluster, to say the least. There's been so much that's happened. Really just trying to get back into the swing of things, but it's been an interesting year. One of the things that I want to talk about, speaking of clusters, I'm not going to go into too much detail because I know specific people that listen to this, and while I enjoy stirring the pot from time to time.
No, with your.
Yeah. So, Cody, what's the one thing that everybody in the fire service, and it's honestly probably like this in public safety, but what's the one thing we always say about each other in the fire service? We are one big
happy family.
We are one big family, right? And like families do, we sometimes have our moments where we argue and we don't get along. And you know what? Really grinds my gears is when somebody claims that they are a family, but they are willing to talk mad shit about you behind your back and then not even have the balls to call you up and tell you their concern. So I hope this one particular individual listens to this episode and understands that at the end of the day, I'm always going to be here for you if you need anything. But you lost a lot of my respect today. So I'm just going to end it with that. But I do think it's an important segue into what I want to talk about involving the fire service. In the fire service, it's not just the captains, the lieutenants, the chiefs that are the leaders. If you are a black hat, you are a leader. You should be a leader, especially if you've got a few years under your belt. You should 100% be a leader within your department. Just because you
Oh,
don't have a
one
title,
hundred percent.
just because you don't have a title doesn't mean that you're not a leader. So, what makes a leader? Well, you lead by example, right? If you are going to go and tell somebody to do something, it should be something that you would be willing to do yourself or have done yourself. If you are going to expect people to have conversations with other people who they disagree with, you should be willing to do the same thing. You should not be going and talking shit behind their back. You should not be spreading rumors. You should not be starting things that is unbecoming of a leader. Would you agree?
I think that the idea of, and I may be stealing this from somebody, but leading from the back step, so to speak, or, leading from that reverse facing seat, you should 100% already have those qualities and the ability to do so before you ever get into any type of official leadership position. If you're waiting to prove yourself as a leader until after you get that position, I think you're setting yourself up for failure, and you're probably going to have a bumpy road and make a lot of mistakes. Now you're going to make mistakes anyway, and I think one of the big things with that in any type of leadership role is, admitting the fact that you are human, be humble, and admit when you fuck something up. If you mess it up, it doesn't mean you're a failure
That's the key
to a
thing.
certain extent.
That's the key thing is being willing to admit when you've messed something up. If you messed up, it's not a big deal. Just own up to it. Tell the truth. Don't lie about it. Don't try to, make up some story or make up some excuse. Just own up to it.
Well, and even to go along, that line to a certain extent is, um, just because you have, those bugles or bars or what have you, whatever your organization uses to show as a sign of your position, um, is the ability to admit that you don't know something. Having a title and having bars on your collar, bugles on your title, it doesn't automatically imbue you with the knowledge of the entire fire service or EMS agency or law enforcement agency or what have you. And the ability to actually, okay, hey guys, I got no idea. What do you got?
Yeah.
On a scene or even during training. I can't tell you how many times that my guys under me teach me stuff that either I'm not familiar with at all, or it's been years and years and years since I even messed with it.
Well, and that's
You
the
know,
big thing too.
I'd
If you
rather have somebody tell me that they don't know it rather than BS their way through an explanation of it, and then
100%.
everybody's wrong.
Yeah. But if you are a leader, like you have the title, if you're captain, lieutenant, chief, whatever, you should be encouraging your black hats to act as a leader, to take on a leadership role.
Mhm.
You're not telling them hey, this is in preparation for you to do XYZ. Like, no, that's not the point of it. The point is you should be, if you're running a good crew or if you're running a good department is ran by the people underneath you. It's not always just because you're the chief and you happen to, put on good trainings or whatever, obviously depending on the size of your department. But a good department has leaders in the role without the title. They're leading by example. They're doing what they should be doing and they're helping teach newer people that this is how we act. You're creating a culture, a positive culture. And you're constantly having to keep working on that culture. It's not like it's a one and done thing. Just like if you have to change the culture, it's not like it's something that's going to happen overnight. It takes time. But you should be encouraging your people to be leaders in their role.
But think giving them ownership or giving them buy-in to that is important in developing that with people that are below you. Not necessarily, you're going to do this because you're going to be a leader one day. It's giving them a project or something to do and having the confidence in them to actually carry out that project, carry out that role gives them confidence, and they may step up and actually do something along those lines for you without even you mentioning it. And I think that should be the goal. I don't know if this is necessarily the right way to put it, but my guys don't need me to run the shift on my crew. It doesn't mean that they run around and do whatever they want to do, but I mean, I can literally step away and they can operate and they can run the shift. Now, I have a good group of guys on my shift, so I was blessed with that. There wasn't a whole lot of encouraging that I needed to do. Those guys actually wanted to step up, and I would probably say that any one of my guys that I have underneath of me could absolutely one day be a fabulous apparatus officer, company officer, what have you. And that should be the ultimate goal.
Yeah, I totally
In my
agree.
opinion, you should be training your replacement.
Yep. That was actually taught to me. I didn't learn that until I got into my current job field. That wasn't something that I learned in the fire service. Now, let's be honest. So I was in fire and EMS for 10 years before I stepped away for about 4, almost 5. And I when I stepped into a captain position, I didn't have the best role model before me. And you and I can talk after this of who that individual was before me, but I didn't have the best role model. So it's not like I was filling extraordinary shoes when I stepped into that position. So I was now the chief that I had, the chief was absolutely amazing. And he's currently a battalion chief now for one of the fire districts. He was absolutely amazing, and I still respect him 100%. In fact, when I started doing this podcast, I think I had like, I don't know, 6 or 10 episodes done, and he randomly called me one night and was like, "Hey, just want you to know that I've listened to your episodes. The episodes are absolutely amazing. I love it. Keep up the good work. You're doing a great job." And that was huge to me because I respect this guy so much. But when I stepped into that captain role, I didn't know what I was doing. I thought I knew. I thought I knew what it meant to be a leader, but I really didn't. And it's very easy to let a title go to your head without you even realizing it. It's very easy to step into that position and start barking orders because that's what you think a leader does. Because maybe you've had bosses, because that's what they are. You've had bosses in the past do that, where they just bark orders at you and tell you what to do all day. Maybe they micromanage, maybe they whatever, they just yell a lot. And I don't think I yelled a lot, but I wasn't a leader by any means. I could put on training, I could do all these different things, but I wasn't a leader. So the best thing I can recommend, if you're a reader, I highly recommend reading books. In fact, there's one particular individual, and we're just going to go ahead and play his video um, because well, we can. It's on YouTube. I'll just play a little bit of snippet of it. But there's one particular leader. Lately, I've been reading some books, and there's some people that aren't too fond of this individual, but I didn't have him as a leader. I don't know how he is as a human. I just know that he says a lot of the right things. So this is, let me share my screen here. Admiral McRaven. If you've never seen this video, I'm telling you, it's a good one.
To me, basic SEAL training was a lifetime of challenges crammed into 6 months. So here are the 10 lessons I learned from basic SEAL training that hopefully will be of value to you as you move forward in life. Every morning in SEAL training, my instructors, who at the time were all Vietnam veterans, would show up in my barracks room, and the first thing they'd do was inspect my bed. If you did it right, the corners would be square, the covers would be pulled tight, the pillow centered just under the headboard, and the extra blanket folded neatly at the foot of the rack. It was a simple task, mundane at best, but every morning we were required to make our bed to perfection. It seemed a little ridiculous at the time, particularly in light of the fact that we were aspiring to be real warriors, tough, battle-hardened SEALs. But the wisdom of this simple act has been proven to me many times over. If you make your bed every morning, you will have accomplished the first task of the day. It will give you a small sense of pride, and it will encourage you to do another task, and another, and another. And by the end of the day, that one task completed will have turned into many tasks completed. Making your bed will also reinforce the fact that the little things in life matter, If you can't do the little things right, you'll never be able to do the big things right. And if by chance you have a miserable day, you will come home to a bed that is made, that you made. And a made bed gives you encouragement that tomorrow will be better. So if you want to change the world, start off by making your bed.
You know, to a certain extent, if you're in a leadership position for a while, you're going to piss somebody off. You're not going to make somebody happy. Somebody's going to disagree with you. I think it's important, if you run away from it, they're just going to attack. But if you stand your ground on some of that stuff, you're gonna come out on the top end more often than not. Admiral McRaven has some good stuff, honestly, but for me personally, Jocko Willink in his Extreme Ownership series helped me significantly with my early leadership problems. Oh, there you go. You got the
All
whole
right.
stack.
So, no, this isn't even all of them. But if you are serious about wanting to be a leader, whether you have the title or you don't, but you want to be a leader, your own kind of leader, you want to be a human leader in your everyday life, these are the books that you need to read. The first one, going with what you were saying, is it's going to look backwards, but Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. It's actually Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. If you're not familiar with who they are both retired Navy SEALs.
I always forget about Leif.
Yeah. Well, they
He's
started
just as
they started their own business, and I can't remember for the life of me what it's called. Yeah, regardless. They started their own business where they go to it's basically a consulting company, and they go to these
Echelon
other
Front.
businesses, Echelon Front. And they go and consult them and teach them how to be leaders and how to take control of their companies, because it's very easy when you're high up on the food chain to lose control.
So fun fact with them, they actually do a monthly public safety webinar. It's usually about an hour and a half, 2 hours long.
I didn't know that. That's awesome. Yeah, obviously they are huge supporters of first responders. In fact, if you've ever listened to Jocko's podcast, he mentions at the end of every single episode, thank you to all first responders, police, fire, EMS, nurses, doctors, whole nine yards. He goes on the spiel, and he's not reading it, like he's legit speaking it, because one, he's said it so many times, but two, he really means it. So start with Extreme Ownership. It's a great book. Highly recommend it. Another one is what we just listened to, Admiral McRaven, Make Your Bed. That's a great book. I highly recommend that. Another great book by Jocko Willink is The Dichotomy of Leadership, also with Leif Babin in it. And then The Wisdom of the Bullfrog by let's try this again. Admiral McRaven. That's a tongue twister. That's also a great book. Those are just four.
My recommendation would be, if you're going to read Extreme Ownership, to just go ahead and buy Dichotomy of Leadership with it, because those two books play off each other very, very well. And some of the stuff that may not make a whole lot of sense to you in the Extreme Ownership book will be explained in the Dichotomy of Leadership. My personal opinion, anyway.
Yeah, and Jocko did other books too. I own pretty much all of his books.
Didn't he do a kid series too?
Well, he's got the Discipline Equals Freedom book that he made, and then I think that's the newest one. He also did a leadership strategy and tactics field guide book, but then yes, he did a bunch of kids books. That's actually what he did first. He did all these kids books, and it's Way of the Warrior Kid, and my kid loves those books. So if you got kids, let's see, Keegan. I started reading those books to Keegan when he was probably 5 or 6. And because of those books, he decided he wanted to go do jujitsu. And he's been doing jujitsu now for a little over a year. I think he's got a couple more sessions to go to get his last stripe before he moves on from his white belt to his gray belt. So he loves it. He just absolutely loves it. But those books are amazing. In fact, Jocko is working on the movie of the first Way of the Warrior Kid book, and it's with, I gotta remember his name, Chris Pratt. Chris Pratt is going to be playing the Uncle Jake character. So when Jocko wrote this book, this was written after Mark Lee. If anybody's familiar with who Mark Lee is, Mark Lee was a Navy SEAL that died overseas, and he was part of Jocko's team. And Jocko was very close to him. So was Leif, all of them. And so he named the kid in the book Mark. And then obviously Mark's uncle is Uncle Jake. So Jake was like Jocko, whole 9 yards. But kid books are awesome. All of his leadership books are great podcasts. So highly recommend those. But there's tons of awesome leadership books out there. Definitely things to take a look at. So if you're serious, I highly recommend, read those books, listen to them on audio, whatever. There's another guy too, Simon Sinek. I haven't read his book yet.
Never even heard of that one.
But he's got a lot of good stuff too. I've seen a lot of videos of him doing conferences, and he's got a lot of good things to say too.
Something I want to touch on though. I mean, you brought up your boy doing jujitsu, and mine does karate. Just martial arts in general with young kids, and it's not all about kicking and fighting and any of that. I have noticed a big difference in my boy Holden since he's been doing that. He's been doing it for a little over a year, and the amount of that he's improved as far as his focus and his discipline and just respect in general has increased. Now he's 4 or 5 years old. He's 4 years old, right?
That was the bell ringing telling us to wrap it up. Just kidding.
No, but it's great just to watch the change in him. And I think we're as we talk about leadership on this particular episode, instilling those values at a young age, I think is important. And that's leadership in your family. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just about public safety or fire department, police or the police departments, EMS, or even at work. Be a leader at home too.
Yeah, and I would argue that it's more important to be a leader in your home life than it is in your professional life. Because at the end of the day,
Mhm.
anything could happen, right? You could get kicked out of your job, you could lose your job, you could get seriously hurt or whatever, but at the end of the day, you still have your family. So I think it's more important. But I will agree. So Keegan started, like I said, he started jujitsu a little over a year ago. And this was around the time, for at least for a couple years, he was very nervous to try anything new. And when I say nervous, I mean like it would be a cry fest. It was rough. And he had been doing soccer. Like he'd been doing soccer since he was about 2 or 3 years old, since he could walk. And for whatever reason, I think he was probably around 4 or 5. Even soccer, like he was too scared to go out on the field, and he'd been doing it was the exact same people, exact same coach, exact same situation. He just was too nervous to do it. And when we started with jujitsu, like his confidence boosted right up, respect level boosted tremendously. He still likes to have fun, obviously. Each session we go once a week, and each session is about an hour. It's actually about 45 minutes, but we get there a little early. So for like the first 15 is they're all playing, they're throwing these balls around at each other like dodgeballs and stuff. And then
But you got to run the energy off of them at some point.
Yeah. So then the instructor calls them all in, and they actually start off with, they do stretches, like different forms of stretching and whatnot. And then they circle up and they start with doing box breathing. Like, I don't, not a jujitsu expert, but like the teacher.
Well, like in 4 seconds, hold your breath for 4 seconds out.
Yeah. But he'll like hold his finger up and he'll go move his finger around to get them to breathe in, breathe out, and to pause. And they all relax. If you haven't tried box breathing, I highly recommend giving it a try, because it actually does work. And that is something that they actually, that is something they actually teach in the military too, from what I've been told, is box breathing for high stress situations.
box breathing in the fire service is a thing to major to save the air in your tank.
Yeah. So
I suck
th-
at it, but
they'll they'll do that, and then they'll have like some kind of moment where like there's a topic of the week where they'll
Mhm.
discuss things like how to be respectful or whatever the topic is. They'll discuss it and they'll go through different examples and all these things, and then they start actually learning the skill. And you would think, so this age group is like 4 to 7 or something like that, and you would think, well, what could they possibly be doing in jujitsu at that age group? I'm telling you, these kids, they can do some skills that I don't know that I could do. And I did jujitsu for a few months. Like, these kids are getting down and dirty. And I watched him. So he was down on the ground. Again, I'm horrible with terms, but he was down on the ground and the instructor was demonstrating like what you do if you're on your back and somebody's trying to come after you, use your feet, put it into their waist to keep distance. And he's shoving his feet into the instructor's waist and he's keeping him away. And then all of a sudden you see the instructor is in the air and Keegan is holding him by his feet. Now, granted, this instructor probably weighs 180 pounds soaking wet, but 7-year-old holding up a 180-pound-year-old man with his legs, like that's pretty impressive. So they're doing all sorts of these things. I'm telling you,
all about
if
body mechanics, man.
yeah, if you've got a kid and it doesn't matter how old they are. It doesn't matter if they're 5 or if they're 15. If you've got a kid that you feel like I just don't know what to do. I don't know how to get a hold of them. I don't know how to, whatever. Sign them up for jujitsu. Sign them up for karate. I did karate when I was a kid. I didn't love it. It was a lot of learning how to count in Japanese or Chinese or whatever it was, and I wasn't a
Well,
big fan of it.
they don't make them do that when they're in the age
Man,
group that Holton is.
I wasn't a
But
fan
no,
of it.
like he goes like 30 minutes twice a week, and just that 30 minutes twice a week, I've seen a marked change in his behavior, his confidence level. He's not tied to our legs at all times wherever he goes. He's willing to try new things. And just the discipline and the respect, he was the kid. If you told him to do something, he'd look straight at you and yell no.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, so this all started from reading Way of the Warrior Kid. And like I said, he's been doing this for a year now. And we just started reading those again because one, I highly recommend reading these books to your kids or having your kids read them because uh there's a lot of things, life lessons in these books that I think every kid should be familiar with, regardless of their age. Because at one point or another, I can guarantee every kid is going to go through a situation where there's a bully at their school or there's somebody that just picks on them all the time or they just have a really bad day, and they cover all of that stuff in all of these different books. So highly recommend checking those out. Great for kids, great for adults. Like, I love them. I think they're great.
I've not read any of his children's books yet. I
Well,
think I might have to at this point.
you can borrow them if you'd like. We've got them
If
all.
I borrowed books and brought them to my house, I would have to buy you a whole new set of books because my kids would destroy them.
That's fair. That's fair.
And I don't borrow books because I like to be able to highlight and make notes in the margins. So,
See, I've never been able to do that. Now granted, I bought a Kindle. So I read, like right now I'm reading The Terminal List, and I freaking love that book. If I read a book on there and I really like it, I'll go and buy the hard copy of it and keep it. Now, all these books back here behind me, even that stupid environmental book that I hate, I've read every one of those books. Eventually, this back wall is just going to be either one big bookshelf or two big bookshelves, and I'm just going to keep all of my books in here because I just don't want anything to happen to them. Yeah, I read a lot of books on Kindles, but I've never gotten big into highlighting or writing notes or anything like that. I never learned how to
so
do it.
I mean, I don't know that you necessarily need to learn how to do it. It's literally just something that I started doing where you go through a book and okay, that particular passage I like, that one I like that one. That one, that one hits. highlight that particular sentence, paragraph, section, whatever. I'll dog ear the page. And if it's, especially with my leadership books, if you borrowed one of my leadership books, it would be all kinds of, dog-eared pages, highlights, and and notes. And if it's a particular, thing that I've highlighted that I can 100% take that and use it and relate that to an actual situation that I've been in, that I've either done good with or fell flat on my face. More often than not, that's the occasion that I remember, to be honest with you. And then I'll write a note in the margin referencing that particular occasion. And then I'll go back through and I'll even reread that stuff, and I'll add, as the years go by, reread it. I may have come across different situations and, make some more notes.
Yeah.
Some people can do it, some people can't. Well, there's a way you can do it with your Kindle. At
Yeah,
least I can do it with
I've
the
done
app,
it.
but
I've done it on a couple of books that I've read on there. It's just not one of my favorite things to do. But to kind of close this portion out, there's one other thing that I want to talk about. But to kind of close this portion out, I think one of the other big things, if you want to be a leader, as much as people hate to hear this and people are going to disagree, and that's fine. You have a right to your opinion, but leadership is also in presence, not just in what you say. So if you present yourself as a slob, you don't take pride in your uniform, you don't shave your face like I haven't, or, you don't work out or you don't do any form of exercise, people aren't going to respect you near as much as they would somebody who is clearly taking care of themselves and they're caring about their appearance. So,
as a leader, you set the standard.
100%.
Whatever your minimum standard is for yourself is the minimum standard for your crew.
Yep.
I walk in a stained up t-shirt, unshaved, and non-regulation hat. I can't really tell those guys, hey, you need to be in the collared button down that the department bought you until 5:00 tonight.
Yep. I've had two really amazing, two amazing leaders, one not so amazing in my time. The two amazing ones, one was actually who I was talking about a little while ago, with career firefighter with the city, and the other one was actually a military guy. He was career in the military, and this was when I was doing my hospital security days. He was my boss then.
Fun
In
fact,
fact,
that's actually where I met Tyler Burns.
yeah. He actually still remembers me, and he ran into a friend of mine and they shot the shit about me. But regardless, those two, they always came in clean. They always came in, and if it was a day we were wearing uniforms at the fire department, they always came in with a clean uniform on, looked presentable, looked professional. The other one, when I was doing security, his uniform was ironed. It was pressed. It looked immaculate. The one that wasn't so great would come in, no belt on his pants hanging down around his thighs, shirt untucked, stains all over his shirt, didn't give two craps, hadn't shaved in like a week, just looked like crap. And that's the one you don't want to be like. So, in order to fix that, it takes discipline. And that's another thing that Jocko Willink talks about hardcore is discipline. Discipline equals freedom. And the best thing you can do to try to work on improving your leadership skills is to have discipline for yourself. Set whatever goal it is that you want and then be disciplined enough to do it. If you want to lose weight, okay, figure out what your macros need to be, follow that. Figure out what your workout routine needs to be, follow that. Doesn't matter how hard, how strict it is, you just need to stick to a routine. And that's half the battle. I've struggled with it myself. I still struggle with it, but you got to set a standard for yourself and you got to be disciplined enough to see it through.
100%, sir.
All right. So the last thing I want to talk about, I was going to do a separate video on this, and I struggle doing monologues. I'm not a big fan of them. I hate them. But so for those that don't know, when I left fire and EMS, I went into occupational health and safety. I had a degree in it, figured might as well use it. And I've come to love the field. In fact, the job that I have now, I love everything about it. It's in the construction field. I love it. But I've gotten to know and understand OSHA quite a bit in the last 5 years that I've been doing this. And one of the
I would hope
things
so,
that,
since that's your job.
right, one of the things that OSHA does every year, it's usually towards the end of the year, they release their top 10 most cited safety violations for that year. So this is a little old. This came out around October, November of last year. But I think a lot of this stuff we can take away in the fire service too. So if you're not familiar, the fire service and OSHA, they don't really work together. In fact, OSHA really doesn't have anything to do with the fire service at all unless there's a fatality or a serious injury. If that happens, they're obviously going to come and investigate. But what a lot of departments don't know is there is actually a OSHA standard for the fire service. And that OSHA standard it's titled Fire Brigades, which I find quite comical. I heard that. So if you go on to Google, go on to the Google and type in OSHA 1910-156. So 1910.156. And that'll pull up this OSHA standard. It's a very short standard. It's not very long at all. Should be titled Fire Brigades. Did you find it?
1910 what?
1910.156.
Fire brigades.
Okay. So this is what it is, right? It's titled, where did the title go? Fire Brigades, right here. See, title, Fire Brigades. Okay. So this thing, now mind you, the first like several sections on here, I guess from here is definitions, just to tell you what these are. But this is everything that OSHA would look for if they came to your fire department, because this is the only standard that the fire service really has with OSHA. But there were a couple things that I wanted to mention on here. And again, if you want to look at that, go ahead and pull it up yourself. A couple of things I wanted to go over real quick. So the fire brigade standard really only applies for those that are doing interior attacks. It really doesn't have anything to do with, in fact, it does not apply, and it specifically states on there, does not apply to airport crash rescue or forestry. And it actually, in a lot of parts of that section, it says it only is for performing interior structural firefighting. But some things to note is the big one, because a lot of departments, for whatever reason, want to hire anybody and everybody because they're afraid that they're going to be sued or whatever if they don't. But it specifically says employers shall not permit employees with known heart disease, epilepsy, or emphysema to participate in emergency activities unless approved by a physician in written form. So you actually have to have a certificate from your physician saying it is okay to participate in firefighting activities. It also talks a lot about training and what has to be, as far as training goes, what you have to discuss on an annual basis. And that's things like hazmat, storage of flammable liquids and gases, what water reactive substances are, things like that. It talks about equipment and maintaining and inspecting annually. And it talks about PPE, that sort of thing. So highly recommend, if you're not familiar with that, you should probably check that out and get familiar with it, because there's some important information. Most of it's pretty common sense, but common sense isn't so common these days. So just going back to what I was talking about the top 10 OSHA violations of 2025. Some of these don't really apply, but things to keep in mind. I'll put in the show notes down below what these standards are and how you can find them, so you can kind of read up on it a little bit. But just some things to keep in mind to keep your people safe in the long term. So machine guarding, making sure we have proper guards on saws, all that crap. Personal protective equipment, fall protection, specifically not just fall protection, but fall protection training requirements, respiratory protection, lockout, tagout, ladders, hazard communication, and then for the 15th straight year in a row, the most cited safety violation by OSHA is fall protection in general. One of the things that the fire service does that I haven't quite wrapped my head around, Cody, if you're up in your ladder, you're in the buck, granted yours is a basket, But if you're up in the ladder, what kind of fall protection do you have on?
A ladder belt and I don't know the actual term for it, but it's
It's just the waist belt.
yeah, it's just a waist belt, and that's hooked up to a safety line that's actually in the bucket. I I think it's like an arrestor system. If it feels weight on it, it'll catch basically, or drop protection type of a deal.
I know what you're talking about. But you guys don't use like full harnesses or anything.
No,
So that's one of the things that
which
I
I've
don't
always which
love.
I've always kind of questioned myself, because if you are using that and you are up in that bucket and your goal is to do roof operations or what have you, if I'm up there with all of that gear on my back and I fall, the first thing that it's going to do when I catch is drop me I'm going to be head first.
Well, and if you don't have a proper fitting belt on and it's not tight enough, you could literally fall right out of it. So I'll go back to to my old department. We had those belts too, and it was basically a quote unquote one size fits all, and they were ginormous. Now, granted, most of the time when you're on a ladder, you're in full turnout gear. Like you're not just going up there in just your bunker
Now,
pants. But
so not to interrupt you, but before I lose my train of thought, we've got a couple different systems that we have available. I mean, the most commonly used ones is it's literally the belt and your turnout gear. Now we do have legitimate ladder belts, the big thick leather ones, that go around your waist over the top of your turnout gear, um, that are actually way better for doing what they're intended to do than that little piece of canvas belt in your turnout gear that's more or less there to help hold your pants up. And I really wish we would use them more. And
yeah,
that's on me probably to start that habit, but I can tell
so
you I don't. In the heat of the moment in the situation, it's in the bucket and clip in.
yeah, so those big belts are obviously better than nothing. My preference would be that fire departments start using the full harness because that full harness is going to protect you way more than that belt will. However, it's tough to put on, I get it. It's tough to put on a full harness when you've got a bunker coat on and bunker pants. Like it's not the greatest, but or the easiest, I should say, to put on. But as mentioned, those are the ones that apply of the top 10. And like I said, OSHA doesn't really have much to do with the fire service unless there's a fatality. We had one in 2012 when Mark Hawden's child died in the line of duty after rolling. We call them tanker trucks. Up here in the county I live in now, they call them tenders. It drives me nuts. We're not on the West Coast, but regardless, we call them tanker trucks.
Hang on. I just found one that actually, if you can see that,
Yeah. Yeah,
it's
that
it,
just
it
goes around your waist and your legs though. It doesn't go around your shoulders. I mean, it's still better than nothing, and it's still better than that waist one. But that was the first time.
430 bucks.
That was because OSHA was knocking on our door the next day, and all of those things that I briefly touched on 1910 156 is what they're looking for. They want to see training records. They want to see that your equipment inspection sheets. They want to see PPE. Was the PPE, not that the PPE was going to save him, but was the PPE expired? Was it past its limit? That's the big one. A lot of departments, they say, well, and it's usually because of money, right? Turnout gear is expensive, but a lot of them use them past that 10-year mark. And those are things that you should be keeping an eye on as well.
It's expensive, and a lot of the volunteer agencies just don't have the funding or even the resources to obtain the funding,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
It's tough. And I'm not bashing those departments. I mean, my department, we just purchased, I think we purchased 2 sets of gear, one for last year's budget and one for this year's budget. Like it's expensive. Totally get it. And it's tough to get a hold of sometimes when you don't have the funds to do it. But those are some things to keep a lookout for. Like I said, I highly recommend looking into those. If anything, just to up your guys' knowledge on ways to keep your people safe. And I mean, if you go, these are good training topics. Like some of these are actually things that you should be touching on anyway, like lockout, tagout. You should probably be touching on that. I know your department at least used to do a training on lockout, tagout.
Every year.
But ladders, PPE, if you're not familiar with my ice maker just said it's out of water now. I know it's awful. But if you're not familiar with the hierarchy of controls when it comes to safety, a PPE is at the very bottom of the thing. It's like the last step to protecting people. And for whatever reason, we always treat it as the most important thing. So just some things to look into. And if anybody's ever interested, we can always leave us a comment and we can dive into it a little bit more.
I might fall asleep during it.
Yeah, that might be a monologue thing.
Not that it's not important. It is just super dry, bud.
It's tough. It is super dry. Like, and again, I do this for a living where I have to read OSHA standards, especially when I get somebody that wants to argue about why they shouldn't be doing something. And then I got to pull up the OSHA standard and read it and copy it and send it to it. It's dry, but if it keeps your people safe, highly recommend it. Outside of that, I think that's about all I got. You got any closing remarks there, Mr. Randall?
Sorry for my long absence.
Yeah,
Hopefully it won't be a month and a half again.
We do have a gentleman that is going to be a guest on our show. Now, I'm going to have to change the date of it because I have to go take a test the day that we're supposed to do this interview.
IQ test?
But yes. No. I do have to go take a test for work, though, and I have to go to Michigan State University to do it. So I'm going to leave Sunday to stay at my uncle's house, who only lives like 40 miles from there. And Monday, I'll go there and take the test. But Anthony Dyer is his name, Dyer. We'll be interviewing him. I won't go into too much detail about what it is that we'll be talking about, but I chatted with him on the phone. He was in the military. He retired from, I believe, the Air Force.
Mm-hmm.
But he's got some amazing stories to tell. So really cool dude. I think it's gonna be a really fun episode when we do talk to him. Very down to earth individual too. So he's got a pretty extensive background. Yeah, maybe might have some guests returning in the future. So it's not just Cody and I chatting your ear off, but we got some plans for 2026. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. All right. It's time for dinner.
It's time for bed.
That too. All right, everybody. Have a safe rest of your week. And pray that summer comes sooner rather than later.
Still got a couple months, bud.
Mr.
No, I'm
Hey,
just
Cody.
realistic. There's nothing negative. Bye, man.